Today's Monday, so that means it's a new episode of the Energy is Love podcast. Thank you, everyone that has been listening and tuning in to the podcast as of late. We greatly appreciate it. Steph and I are having a lot of fun doing episodes lately, and it's super wonderful that people tune in and listen, so thank you. If you haven't already, please share the podcast in some way, shape, or form. Just simply telling somebody about it is a great thing, a great way to share it, I suppose. Nobody shares like that anymore. We all have to tag or share or copy or paste something, but just tell somebody about the podcast. A lot of times you have to educate people about podcasts as well. The fact that they're free, you can download and listen to them anywhere, all the time from your smartphone. There's 1,001 apps available. And the cool thing is you can find the Energy is Love podcast on probably 99% of those apps, if not all of them. Of course, you can go to energyislovepodcast.com and check it out as well. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by InBody Yoga Academy. InBody is located at 1597 South, 1100 East in Salt Lake City, Utah. Go to their website, inbodyyogaacademy.com. InBody offers introductory public yoga and meditation classes as well as workshops. As a new student at InBody, you will learn the fundamentals of a safe and optimal yoga practice as well as the principles of mindfulness, all with the intention of supporting your life. So if you're brand new to yoga, you can go check them out. Go pop in, jump in on a class. You can find their schedule at their website. Also, if you are a new student and it's your first time there, your first class is free. Coming up in May 1st through the 5th, they have a yoga therapy and mindfulness retreat taking place. Go to their website, go to the Facebook page. You can go to our website and link to them as well. But go relax, go practice some yoga. On today's episode, Stephanie and I sit down with Blaine Nielsen. So Blaine and I actually grew up together in the same small town here in Grantsville, Utah. Blaine reached out recently because he has a podcast. I have a podcast. So we did a podcast together. We did a swapcast. The name of his show is the Hortoccult Podcast. Blaine has a background in horticulture and gardening and all that kind of stuff, landscaping. So it's a fun podcast. I highly recommend checking it out if you're into any of those kind of things. You can find his stuff at hortoccult.com. on Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And of course, you can link to it in the show notes of this episode. But Blaine came on and we had a wonderful, open, honest conversation about so many different things. And Blaine and I got to catch up a little bit. We haven't seen each other since high school. So it's been it's been over 20 years. So we catch up. I learn about what Blaine's been up to. And then we get super deep into all sorts of different fun topics. So go check him out at horticulture.com. And in the meantime, you guys get to sit back and relax and enjoy a wonderful episode with our guest, Blaine Nielsen. Here we go.
You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is Love.
The Energy is the Love podcast.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is Love.
The Energy is Love podcast.
The podcast for the universe.
The Energy is Love podcast.
I'm good. I've been good.
I was just thinking, I haven't seen you in 20 ye's.
You think it's been 20 years?
Wow.
No, wait. Yeah, we're having our 20-year reunion.
Yeah.
And so I've had more time not seeing you than I have seen you. Because I think the last time I saw you was the senior trip.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I was 17.
17. What, babe? What are you looking at?
I can't see. Did you hit record?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me it started. I'm like, this is good. Like, we should be. Okay.
Yeah, it's working. Can you see?
I can't.
I don't think, this is something that's been dawning on me lately is how old I am. I feel like an old man a lot of times. And it's crazy to think we were watching, what were we watching? We've been watching a lot of stuff.
Rhapsody.
Yeah, we watched Bohemian Rhapsody recently. And of course, it's not just about the song, but the songs in it, Bohemian Rhapsody. And as we're sitting there watching it and listening to it, and our boy's watching it with us, and he's 12 years old, and he knows the song because we've listened to the song before, and he knows the lyrics and everything like that. And then it dawned on us that it's 45 years old. That song is. Oh, and I'm like, holy shit. That means that... And then we're sitting there doing the math, and we watched Wayne's World the other day, and that came out in 92 or something like that. And it's that's almost 25 years old or something. What would that be?
I was thinking it was where when it came out is the same age that he is now. So the same age that I was when it came out is the same age that he is now.
Yeah, when he's watching.
When he watched, so we watched it the same age.
Yeah. But yeah, we're old,
that
Blaine.
sounds
Funny.
That's way cool. I know. Well, that's where I know that song is from Wayne's World.
Yeah,
like
right?
I never heard it before, and I was like, "This is cool." And then I hear it, and it's like only half of the song is in Wayne's World, where the good part is like cut out. But I mean, that's the fun part. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting up there.
It's strange to think, because I hadn't ever thought of it that way either, that we haven't seen each other, or I mean, there's a bigger chunk of time that we haven't seen each other than the chunk of time when we knew, like when we did see each other, when we knew each other.
Yeah. And I didn't know where this was going to go, but I was just thinking of all the little memories in my life that are Craig Salazar. Like, this is weird though, because I wouldn't say we were in the same group of friends. And we weren't really in the same neighborhood. We're it's freaking Cransville. It's one neighborhood.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we grew up like down because you grew up, or you lived on Clark Street.
Yeah.
Just around the corner from Center Street.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were on Center.
Yeah, Center Street, just up from the elementary school. So
Yeah, so we were close-ish. But
come closer to the mic for me.
I think we were, like one of my memories I remember, you were in Little League, right? You were an all-star. The only thing I ever wanted out of freaking Little League was to be an all-star.
Yeah.
And then my freaking nephew, who is not, he's got more athletic ability, we'll say, than me. He made all-star and he hated it. And I was like, oh, you made all-star. That's so great. And he's like, it sucks. Totally sucks. And I was like, maybe I should have prioritized what I wanted. But yeah, I remember because you guys got to ride in the parade on the freaking fire truck or whatever. I was like, dang it, man. That could have been me. I could have been somebody or whatever. Just as a kid, what you think about.
Yeah. It's crazy to look back and think about just all of that shit, all of this. Cause I take for granted, cause you don't live out here anymore, right?
No, my family does.
Yeah. And so we've lived here we've lived in this house for 5 years, and I moved back out to Grantsville like 10, 11, 12 years ago or something like that. But you take it for granted. And I forget how, like Nikki Butler, which her name's not Butler anymore, but she lives just around the corner from us. And her husband, who is Brad Orgel, coached Asher this year in junior jazz. And so it's like all this little stuff that you kind of take for granted and you forget, and, take him down to the middle school for practice, and he's playing basketball at the same high school in the same court on the same, do you know what I mean? All these kind of little things that I just forget and you take for granted. And then when I stop and think about it, I'm like, oh, that's very, very cool. Like, I like that. That's why I like living out here so much, is I like the small town. I like the environment. I like the fact that, he still has frickin' Mrs. Lindbergh is still his PE teacher, which is nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. When did you graduate and then go to college and move away at that point, or?
Yeah. So I graduated, went to Snow for a year, served at El Mission, and then...
Where did you go on your mission?
I went to California. It was nice and sunny. I was actually in the high desert mostly.
Yeah.
So like Hesperia and Victorville and Apple Valley. So that sucked.
Yeah, that's not an exciting mission place, huh?
Yeah. Well, I read it. I was like, oh, bummer. Because my family, they all went to Mexico, right? So they all learned Spanish and they all got culture, and I went to California, and then it's hilarious. So I have a new grandma. I have a grandma again, which was weird. I lost both my grandparents when I was in middle school, or at least grandmas. And so when I married my wife, I got a grandma again, and she's hilarious because she's losing it a little bit, and she's like, why don't you make, so her brother went to Japan, so they have all these dishes and crap that they have from Japan, and they're Polynesian anyway, so they already have this cool culture, and here I am little white guy, you know, I got nothing, you know. We always make fun and say, you know, I'm the boring white guy because I kind of am.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And so they make, so grandma wanted me to make something from my mission. And I'm like, pork roast, you know, it's like, what do you want me to say? So.
Yeah, there's nothing too exciting from the high desert of California.
But then I went to Utah State. I actually played around up there in Logan. Came back, lived at home, had a job, commuted into Salt Lake.
What do you mean you played around up there?
Oh, well, I was supposed to be going to school.
Yeah.
I didn't graduate. I just kind of was a couple classes that I would sleep in on, you know, and had some roommates that we'd raise a little hell once in a while. And then I just was like, what am I doing? I'm just wasting money, wasting time. So I decided to get into the workforce. Didn't have anywhere really to go, so I just went home. And I actually started taking classes at the extension. So I kind of like digressed. I don't know. It's like I was there on main campus, came back and went to the Twila.
Went to the satellite campus.
Yeah. Got my associate's degree in general studies or whatever.
Yeah.
And then didn't like commuting. I actually, this is weird because you really don't know. You have no idea what I did.
None.
Which is weird to me. But I don't know what you've been doing. Well, we'll get into that. I won't talk too long. I know a little bit because of the podcast.
Oh my God. Every time. I'm so sorry.
You're okay, baby. Do you have to take it? Too late?
Well, I answered it and hung up on the text.
That's wonderful.
I'm sorry.
So I was working at a bindery where they make books.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of sucked. Was working night shifts and going to school during the day. And then this guy I was working with was like, I'm going to apply for the post office. I'm going to be a postal worker. And I'm like, great, that's fantastic. And I looked at it and I was like, I could do that. You know, that's better than what I'm doing. And so I became a rural carrier.
You were an RCA?
Yeah, I was an RCA for like 8 years.
Yeah, I worked for the post office for a while.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was a rural carrier up in Layton. We used to live in Davis County, me and my first wife, and I got a job with the post office and delivered mail up there for, it was almost 2 years. It was about a year and a half. And at the time, I quit that and we moved out here, back out to Grantsville. But yeah, it's totally
You didn't
a mail
want
carrier.
to transfer?
I tried.
They're just
I
like,
tried.
nah.
They didn't have any openings at the time because, I mean, I loved that job. I loved being able to just do your own thing and go in the morning and case the mail and get out in the truck, and I didn't have to worry about anything. And
That's so true. Like the best days are the days when you don't see a customer or anything. You just deliver.
yeah, you're just cruising along doing your thing. I got to listen to, at the time, I didn't listen to podcasts back then. I wish I had, because it's like prime podcasting listening. But I listened to NPR a lot and just kind of cruised around and got to drive the fun little mail truck and throw mail all day long.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it.
You did that for 8 years, though.
I did for 8 years. I actually made it to be a regular for a little while, but
This is like inside post office. Like people don't realize that there's a variety of mail carriers that exist.
Right. And even in like different, even if we were the same position, RCA, your office would be completely different from what I experienced.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many like routes you guys were working or whatever. And where you are in the line of like seniority would be totally different, because then you get more work, or you get to pick the routes better that you like, and you have a better time. But it's like, I got up into like the 3-4 range of seniority, and then the economy just went, and the post office is so connected to real estate and growth. And they just weren't making routes, and nobody was retiring, and I just got stuck at like 4 forever.
Yeah, and you could still be there, stuck at 4. Like that's the thing
yeah.
with the post office, is those carriers don't
Doesn't matter.
ever leave,
It's so true.
because they make so much money. And it's not an easy job, but it's easy on the scale of
Right, it's true.
difficulty.
Yeah. You just have to memorize your route and learn it, and once you got that, it's totally cool. I loved it. For the time I did it, I got to be outside. I'm very much more an outside person. So to have the fresh air all the time, put me in front of a computer, I'd probably go crazy.
Yeah, I hated all the kind of desk jobs, office jobs that I had. I really enjoyed the same thing, like being outside and being able to do your own thing. I loved that I didn't have to wear a uniform. Like as an RCA, you don't have to wear the actual postal uniform. You just wear whatever the hell you want. And
so when I first started, they didn't have enough vehicles to have for everybody. So I'd have my own car.
Yeah.
So I converted a Honda CRV.
Oh gosh.
To a right-hand drive. And that was pretty cool because I just drove it around town.
Yeah.
And then they changed the laws on getting those safetied, so I had to get rid of it and all this other garbage that went along with it.
And you got to eventually drive one of the trucks, one of the mail trucks?
Yep. Our office got, for all existing routes, got a mail truck.
Well, I think there's like one listener right now that is like, oh, this is amazing. It's super fascinating. Tell me more about the post office.
Yeah. I know when I tell people what I did, you could just see their eyes just go glazed over. Yeah. They're like, I'm trying to be interested, but no one really cares. I got the same thing with my wife with plants. So that's the other. Okay, so I pivoted from the post office. So my wife started, we were both working part-time jobs. Mine was the post office, hers was airlines. And so we got to fly to some pretty cool places. And then we started having babies, and then she stopped working, and then I was the only one.
What does she do for the airline?
She was a flight attendant.
Yeah.
She tried to get in the office. Her actual background is marketing and that's what she does now. So she got out and is an entrepreneur, marketer person. So she can take your company, break it down, and market it properly, and she'll do a little bit of the, optimization. Mm-hmm. She has a couple big clients that she uses. So what happened, she started making money, and it was like, what the freak am I doing? And a lot of my time, because of the post office, I didn't get, it demands a lot of your time.
Yeah.
So you're always on call. You never have a schedule. Our post office, we never had enough people. So to keep it busy, to kind of retain the subs. So we always had to help each other, and late nights, weekends. Then Amazon came and we had to work. I was working 7 days a week there for a while, and it was just taking a toll on the family. And the first opportunity I got to get her out, I would have to transfer to Heber City, which wouldn't have been too bad. But that was like the week that we actually separated, and it was like, holy crap, I've been waiting so long for this, but then it's like destroying my family. And I don't ever get to be with them.
So that was, when you say separated, that was the week that you and your wife separated?
Yeah. Like, she moved out. We went through a weird transition. We tried to rent our house, and we moved in with the in-laws, and the renter was kind of a bitch. And so she had signed a year lease, but we just did the 6 month, kicked her out, and then sold the house. Mm-hmm. And during this time too, when I was a sub, I went back to school and got my horticulture degree. So we're talking like,
you're just busy.
Yeah. I wasn't even knowing my kids. I was disconnected from my wife. And it was just, the decision had to be made. What are we going to do? It's like, she actually thought, which is kind of where we were, that if she said me or the post office, she thought I would pick the post office. And that was really hard to hear. I was like, holy crap. So we really did evaluation and stop and think about what we really wanted. If each other was one of those things that we wanted. And
how long had you guys been married at that point?
7 years.
7 years.
So we just had our 10th anniversary.
Yeah. 7 years. How many kids at that point?
3. So right now, ages are 7, 5, and 3. So, yeah, all girls.
Sweet.
Yeah, they're really fun.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have 3.
Yes.
Yeah. So that, yeah, you start a little sooner than I
I
did.
started way sooner. Yeah. The oldest she'll be 20 next month. Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
She's way old.
Dang, that's cool. But then she's out. But then you have like this old person that is your kid.
She thinks she's old. She is old. I mean, she's mature and she's old and she's, doing her thing and everything like that. But it's really, really difficult to not see her as anything other than a 3-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
Especially now because we don't get to see her as often. I just look at her and see her like with her little hair and curls and running around and holding my hand. And obviously she doesn't want any of that.
Oh, see, I'm still in the phase where they want to hold your hand,
Mm-hmm.
They want to be picked up or what. I mean, I don't want to pick them up. It's like, but you do it because you're like, I'm not going to be able to do it very much longer. So it's like, it's hard. But I remember, this is kind of a little off, but I remember the time, and I knew something was wrong with me. It just wasn't the right thought. When I dropped my oldest off for kindergarten, and I had been walking her to the door, you walk them, they're just like little, and she was like, I want to walk from the car all the way around the back side of the building to the little park area and line up for herself. And I was like, okay, go ahead. And I was just like, is she gonna make it? It's like around a building, and I was just like, it's around a corner, I can't see. Is she really gonna make it? Is she gonna get distracted? Is someone gonna grab? I mean, just these irrational thoughts, and that still sticks. And I'm just like, she'll be fine. It's so hard though.
I don't think it's a rational thought. Like, I understand. It's okay.
Yeah, that shit never goes away.
I still have that issue. My youngest is 12, and I'm still like, I don't know. That's a lot can happen around the corner. Out of my line of sight. What's going to go on?
Yeah. I just let him go.
That's how
I
they
just
know.
go. It sucks and I don't like it and it's hard, but at the end of the day, I just like, whatever, go, get on your bike, ride around town, do whatever you want to do.
And I never thought I would have that. Like, I was just like, oh yeah, cool. And as soon as she was around the corner, I was like,
yeah.
Right?
is she gonna make it?
So what happened after you leave the post office?
Yeah.
You guys separate. Obviously, it sounds like you reconciled and got back together and everything.
Yeah.
But what are you doing now? Not that it matters, but
Well, right now,
I hate that fucking question. I hate that question where somehow you are going to sum up your value and your worth and in like, this is what I'm doing now. And it's like, I don't care what you're doing. I do care what you're doing, but I just hate that question.
yeah, to put like a value on it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I am just home. I do my podcast. I take care of the kids. I take care of the house. That's really it. Like, I'm just a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah. Not just a stay-at-home dad.
Right. It's hard. It's the same thing. I was devaluing it.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was the best decision we have made. And here, the whole gender role swap or whatever. But see, Sunny, because that's my wife, is an entrepreneur, she can work from home. So now we're all home. So
Very,
we still
very
have
nice.
2 kids that haven't gone to school yet. And then my biggest role right now is just taking care of them, making sure they don't bother her. I get to make lunch for Sunny, or she comes up and we have lunch together almost every day. She does travel a little bit, but for the most part, we're all home together.
And how long have you been doing that?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. So I spent another year after we got back together, spent another year at the post office, and then it was really her stuff taking off. And we couldn't find a house. So it was like during that crazy time where everything was really high and we sold our house, but then everything kind of got out of our range because it just kept climbing, and we didn't jump on anything fast enough, or we couldn't find anything. Everything we looked at, there was like 5 offers on it already, and it was like, we're getting out of our area of what we can afford or qualify for. And then we decided to build a house because it's like, okay, at least we can plan something and have it set, and it's not gonna keep going out of our way. And when it goes up, it's value to the house.
Yeah.
Which I have never really even been in this part of Grantsville before.
I know, it's weird, right?
It's just, and it doesn't even feel like it.
Uh-huh.
It's like they took a little piece of suburbia Salt Lake or something and stuck it north or south of Grantsville.
Yeah, it's super bizarre. Every time I drive up Willow to come up here, it's like, I mean, it just blows my mind because I remember obviously when it was dirt roads and we didn't come up here to do anything other than shit we probably shouldn't have been doing. And, but yeah, it is very strange. We love it though. Like, it's so nice because it's far, I don't know, it's not even far away from like Grantsville. It's still Grantsville, but it feels different. You know, it's the layout of the community and the neighborhood and everything like that is super nice. And we're spoiled living in a cul-de-sac. I love the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. No traffic through.
Yeah. So it's
the parent thing again.
Mm-hmm. It totally is. Like, that's the thing is I'm like, yeah, get on your bike and go wherever you want. I don't care because, you know, it's a lot different than if we lived like down on Main Street or something like that. I'd be much more nervous and cautious about him riding around, but it's not bad up here.
Yeah. So yeah, we like our place. It's weird though too, because yeah, Utah County, we're like smashed between the freeway and the lake. So it's a kind of a newer development too, and I guess it's like experienced 400% growth.
Wow.
In like 3 or 4 years.
That's like the whole state.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like out here too, same thing. Like Tooele County, it's just insane how much growth and development and how much housing's going in all over the place. But Blaine, I got a lot of like big questions for you.
Let's go.
Are you cold, baby?
I was trying to be quiet. I'm so cold.
We turn the furnace off when we record so that it doesn't kick on in the middle of it, and then you have to hear the furnace going in the background.
Sorry.
You're okay.
You can hear everything.
No, you can't hear anything.
So quietly.
You're very, very quiet. Stay-at-home dad is not easy. It's just not. I think stay-at-home parent, regardless, trying to raise children is, I think, because I'm speaking from personal experience. When I first got married a long time ago, my first wife, she got a job with the post office. She was a carrier as well. She wasn't an RCA, and because it was such a good job and made such good money and good benefits and everything like that, I stayed home with our daughters at the time. So for like the first 5 or 6 years of up until the point where they started kind of going to school and first grade and things like that, I stayed home. And it was awesome. Like, I loved so much of it. A lot of it, looking back, I love. But in the thick of it, like in the moment and when you're actually doing it, for me, it didn't feel amazing and wonderful. And I was so grateful to get to spend all this time with my girls. It was just shit. Like, it was draining and hard. And I don't know, I felt like I lost a big chunk of like my, I don't want to say my self-worth, but like, what would be the right way to describe it? Identity. Yeah. Yeah.
I can see that.
Because it was just dad all the time. And I did everything, like, you know, not just taking care of the house and breakfast and lunch and taking them to school and like volunteering in their classrooms and all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very rewarding. And I'm very glad that I had that time. But like I said, in the thick of it, it's like, I don't know who the hell I am or what the hell I'm doing. And then you do, it's weird too, because I mean, it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But that gender swap, that change where, you know, you're doing something that is stereotypically, especially here in Utah, done by a woman. And then you get that aspect of it too. But,
you know, I do see more dads picking up their kids from school. It probably took me the first year to get used to it. to like, I think where it was for me was accepting it. Like I didn't do more than I had to at first. And then when I stopped kind of wanting to go, looking at the, wanting to be on my phone or go golfing or do something that I knew I couldn't do, but I thought I had this time, but if I could just figure out a way to like separate, as soon as I just realized that this is what it is and I'm cool with it, it became a whole lot easier for me. But I'm still kind of like, but I use different things. I used my podcast. I guess sit down with my friend once a week and we call it riffing, just riff about plants and then I get to work in my yard, and that's, in a way therapeutic too. And I've actually, from podcasts I've listened to, I'm not healthy, but I have started like meditating and stretching, and I wouldn't call it yoga, but stretching for sure. And it's helped me a whole lot. Waking up earlier. I can't get off the Coke. Not that Coke, the other Coke, the sugar Coke.
Just mountains of cocaine every day.
Yeah. Just can't stop it. But I don't have any hundreds to roll to sniff it. So,
what was it? What has it been like for you? Because it's something that I've experienced, where suddenly you aren't contributing to the family financially, and you're relying upon solely the financial contribution of your partner and your spouse. Because I think that kind of fucks with people's heads too. It does. Like, one thing that I've done though is that before, when I was making all the, when I was the breadwinner, whatever you want to call it, I didn't really know what was going on. Like I was detached from the bills. I just figured she'll take care of it. She won't, I won't run it into the ground as long as I'm working and making money and trying to contribute that way. So now I've kind of took over that part. So now I know where everything is. I know how much we can use and put where. So she doesn't, and that was a big burden on her. Just to feel like she was alone in managing the money, which is, it's one thing that we've worked on to try to find the balance. But really it's just doing it together. I don't really think about it. It doesn't bother you too much?
It doesn't. Like, no one's, the one time that kind of, we had a friend that she referred to her husband and me as kept men. And that was the only time I was like, what the fuck? Am I? Am I kept man?
Yeah.
I don't know. But my wife had a hard time being the stay at home. But she was she had to have babies though. She had little babies, and they just demand so much more of your time. And I've only taken over since, the littlest was 2. So, she's 3, almost 4. So she can do a lot of stuff by herself. She wants to do way more than she should.
Yeah, babies are a whole nother ball game.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure she dealt with all sorts of, self doubt and depression and hardships that way that you just, as a dude working, you just don't even think about.
Yeah. Don't ever experience. It's so funny how, because Steph and I, we both have good, like, in the time that you and I've been together, we both have like gone through this gambit. I keep saying fucking gambit.
I love gambit.
We recorded yesterday, and I just kept referring to everything as gambit. So that's what it's going to be. It's all gambit. But we've gone through that whole spectrum where when we first got together, we were both full-time employed, working, bringing in money into the relationship, into the family. And then I got fired, so I wasn't bringing in any money anymore. And Stephanie was the only one bringing in money. And then eventually I started bringing in money, and then she quit her job to go to school to become a massage therapist, which then meant she wasn't bringing in any money. So we've experienced like the whole roller coaster of money and finances and taking turns back and forth, like trying to pay bills together. One of us just paying bills, the other one just paying bills, one of us bringing in money back and forth. And I don't think we don't have it figured out yet. Like it still causes stress and anxiety. And it's so silly because how often, like I think about that all the time, where it's just like, why in the hell are we worried and stressed about money? And not just whether or not we have money or we're bringing money in, but everything surrounding money and the dynamic between it and our security and our safety and our happiness and our well-being, as well as what it means in our relationship and all this kind of stuff. And it's so asinine.
Yeah.
What do you think, babe?
I think it's funny that it doesn't really matter where you're at, and how you've said that before, whether we're both employed, one of us was, neither of, doing our own little thing. Like the finances, the stress part of it never really changed. Like it all just kind of flows with it. Whether we have this 2 incomes, it seems like the stress was the same. It just, you adjust to the money that's coming in regardless. Yeah. So if you make more, you're spending more, and it's the same stress of when you make less, you're spending less. It's the same stress is what we've kind of.
I think we're less stressed now though, don't you?
Oh, I'm definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like,
financial wise.
Yeah. Like I think that we're definitely getting to that point where it's not as stressful when it comes to money. I think it's way less stressful, the whole financial aspect of it, than when we were both full-time employed working for the government.
Working for the man.
Yeah. I think it's a lot less stressful now.
I think just everything was more stressful then with our jobs and where we were at. Everything was just completely, it didn't matter what it was. It was stressful.
It was a shitstorm.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. From when we were first married to now, it's like ridiculous how much more money we make, and we still don't have any.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, we first bought a house it was like 800 square feet. Like it was teeny. And it was great until we started making babies. Because we had our dog, and then that was a whole other mess up. Because we were dating, not living in the same place, and we got a dog. So it's like, who's the dog? I was living with my brother. They didn't want the dog. She was living in an apartment in Salt Lake, but I worked in Utah County. And so we kept the dog in Utah County, and we would just meet there like whenever we could. It was really weird. So why? I don't know. But yeah, the stress of having, like, if we could have that payment, oh man, I would kill for that little house payment. But
so one of the things that we have started talking about on the podcast, and it's something that we have started talking about just recently, like technically speaking, we haven't even released the episode yet where we started talking about this kind of shit on the podcast yet. We recorded it yesterday and it'll be out next week, but it's something that we're going to be talking about more and more and more and more on the podcast. And it's a big topic, Blaine. Like it's not something that, it's not what your favorite food is or what your favorite movie. It's a huge topic. And it's too big to kind of even try to break down and describe or explain in some context. But I like the fact that you have 3 girls, because that's going to play a role in this arena of discussion. So what it is was several weeks ago, like last month, our oldest is in college, and she participated in the vagina monologues, which I don't know if you're familiar with that at all. Mm-mm. I won't go through and describe what it is. You can definitely Google it. But you can just imagine a stage of 30 women up on stage talking about their vaginas, but also about trauma and abuse and pain and the current state of women in this country and the Me Too movement and what's taken place with that, and toxic masculinity, which I'm not a fan of that label or word. But all of those things kind of wrapped into a 3-hour-long production of monologues and performances and all sorts of stuff. Very, very powerful. At the end of it, they had this part where they basically were calling out everything that they were fed up with and that they were done with in their lives, in society. It was like, it covered the whole gambit of what is it gamut?
You're asking me? That is awesome. I don't know what's there.
But it covered the whole range from like they want to be able to wear short skirts without it being a thing, which is totally understandable, to, you know, rape culture and assholes in the White House and all this other kind of stuff. So it covers the whole range of topics. But one of the things that they also kind of called out was all the good men that are out there in the world, all the men that aren't contributing to all of that toxic masculinity. Even saying that makes me frustrated.
What would you like to call it then?
Unbalanced masculinity, unbalanced, like shitty. I don't know. The problem with toxic masculinity is that it has a label now, and it is used. It's used in the coffee.
I was going to say, God forbid.
No, I just don't like it. Anyways.
I think you should go further into that.
No,
I know you're making a point. I think you should.
No, I don't want to go further into that yet.
Seems kind of toxic.
It's just dumb.
Yeah.
I just think it's dumb why we label all of these things, and we have to, because then people, society, media, whatever, they grab a hold of this label, and now they're using it to describe all sorts of different things. Where that's toxic masculinity. Like, fuck off. That's not toxic masculinity. That's just like
what?
Being a dude or whatever. Not just being a dude, but I don't have any good examples of what I'm talking about.
I see that.
It's the same thing that we've discussed before with meta. Same thing. I don't like that label or that term.
You're comparing meta and toxic masculinity.
I am, dear.
I don't understand. Okay.
Anyways,
so,
Blaine.
No, you can't just go off of it because my mic sounds so weird. Do I sound weird?
No, you're fine.
It sounds so weird. Like if it almost seems like a sensitivity with it. If you feel like it, what I would gather from hearing that is you think it groups all men into one simplified label instead of a behavior of men.
I think at times people definitely do that. Do you know what I mean? And when I say people, I'm talking about, like we could watch some fucking story on CNN or read some article on the interwebs where they talk about toxic masculinity and how toxic masculinity is causing 12-year-old boys to bully other 12-year-old boys. Like that could be a headline to some fucking retarded article on the internet. And it's like toxic masculinity doesn't have anything to do with that because toxic masculinity isn't something. It's nothing. It's just a stupid label that they've used to describe behavior by men that isn't good.
It's not just men, though. So is that your things? Because the women behave the same way?
No, there's plenty of toxic femininity.
So what about toxic society? What would you call it? It's society culture. It's a social stigma from whatever group you're in on how you're behaving.
Yeah, labeling people.
So it's
actions.
Just... how would you describe it without a label? How
would I describe toxic masculinity without
a
label?
I don't think it's just so... Like, I think you're really hung up on the label. So how do you get your point without having just a label that's understood?
Unhealthy behaviors and actions.
That's a mouthful. What do you think?
What's wrong with that? Because that's what it is. Toxic masculinity, if you get stamped with that doesn't mean you're an asshole. That doesn't mean that you're a piece of shit man that isn't worth anything. That means that you're a man that has some unhealthy behaviors that need correcting. That's it. And same thing with women. There's plenty of toxic femininity that is going on right now in the culture, but you don't see fucking headlines with toxic femininity causing the downfall of society.
No, we have enough labels, so they figured we didn't need that one tacked on to all of our others.
I love you so much. Anyways, Blaine.
See, this is why I like your podcast. This is why I like your podcast, because you go deep. Mine is very like plants, love, yeah, whatever, feels good. And you guys get to the root.
Well, this is the big thing of what can good men, so you and me, fathers of daughters, husbands, men that are trying to do the best that they can to be men, to be fathers, to be husbands, right? We're trying to do the best that we can in today's society and in today's world, even though by and large, my life individually, day in and day out, I don't feel affected by all of these big things that are going on. Right? Sometimes we have small little examples of it in our everyday life, especially with our daughters and the experiences that they go through. But what can we as good men do to affect the big picture of things, so that as our daughters grow up and as our wives move through this world, and our sons, I don't know if you guys plan on having any other kids, but just everybody, as they move through this world, this shit that is going on and is existing, right, no longer exists, or that we can help bring balance back to that space as good men. What do we do? How do we do it? What does it look like?
Damn. Like, just me thinking about, I'm glad I don't have boys.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I think boys are kind of looked down on right now. Like they're made, I mean, I try to pay attention a little bit to this stuff. How do I don't even know. I see it culturally that it's kind of in, I guess, trend, to make men the bad guy. And I think that's bad. Because I don't think the majority of men are bad. I think definitely we're different. We think about things differently. We comprehend things differently. I think women have a much more complex thought process and take everything in at the same time and compare it, and can kind of like jumble it and make some more complicated thing than it is. But men oversimplify. Mm-hmm. So we're like, that's not what I'm thinking about. We put a little box around it, put it in the box, and put it away, and we don't think about it until we're like, oh, let's get this out and hold it again and play with it. But to support women is not hard. I think where I kind of come on, like how you were comparing both toxic masculinity and femininity, I think where we're kind of getting down to it is where masculinity tears down women and where femininity tears down men. So I don't really appreciate that kind of femininity. I like strong women. I mean, my wife is definitely a strong woman in her opinions and how she is. And I love that. That's the spice of life. Like, I remember I dated someone before who was just, oh, we'll just do whatever you want. And I'm like, I don't want to do what I want. I want to do what you want. I want you to have a say in what we do. And she was just totally submissive. And it was the biggest turnoff I've ever had. And so I want that fieriness, just not to a point where it degrades on me, I guess, to make me less of a man. It's really, it's such a difficult question, and I'm probably going to say something that's going to piss your audience off.
That's always the caveat. Like, we had this huge caveat when we talked about this yesterday of like, we're not getting this right. We're going to say things that upset people. We're going to say things that trigger people. And we can either choose to not discuss any of this shit and not offend anybody, or we can just have the caveat of like, we are good people. I was speaking about me specifically because
I'm not a good person.
No, because
Craig over here, he's the good one.
But no, of course that's the other thing too, is like, it's a touchy subject, and rather than sit back and just avoid talking about it or discussing it or trying to pick it apart and analyze and think about and, dive into it, because it's such a touchy subject. Like, the fact is, it's going to trigger people and upset people, and that's okay. Because we're not doing that. We're not doing it just for that purpose.
It's how you find the root. It's how you find the problem.
Yes.
We could ignore it, but that's the problem. That's why it's gotten to this point, is because it's been ignored.
Yes. I like how you said submissive, because I think that, like you said, if you have aggressive behavior, whether it's coming from a man or a woman, or we also have to throw in the caveat too that however you identify, which that's a whole nother fucking topic. but you don't have to just identify as a man or a woman. You can identify as whatever you want. And I accept that wholeheartedly. Anyways, regardless of how you identify, if you approach other people, if you approach life, if you approach experiences in an aggressive manner, that is toxic. That is not productive, right? And at the same time, we all can't approach life submissive in relationships and interactions, whether you're a man or a woman. And that the way that you described that, I think that's exactly what it is, where it becomes toxic. The behavior becomes toxic if you're aggressive, if you're trying to control or overbearing. What's another word that we could use?
I like toxic masculinity.
Shut up. And then nobody, because I think men are feeling very submissive right now, and that's fine, right? And I'm sure there's plenty of women who are like, fuck yeah, you should feel submissive because you guys are a bunch of aggressive assholes that have been controlling everything. But there has to be balance. And I think the balance space is assertive. Like, we all have to be conscious and assertive with who we are, what we believe in, what we want, how we treat each other, right? I'm not going to stand for anybody, whether it's a man or a woman, trying to control me or manipulate me or be incredibly aggressive and controlling in our interaction and behavior. I'm just not going to stand for it. And I think that's what women are doing right now. And I'm very, very happy about that.
You looked a little afraid while you turned to me to say that.
No, I just think that they're not all women, and not get to this point where I talk a lot and that's all I hear in my mouth. Not all women, and not the way the movement or some movements are, but I think there is definitely a space right now where women are going too far towards the aggressive side in order to make up for generations and generations and generations of being submissive.
What is hard for me to wrap around on that is they're really not, they're trying to get back those generations from a generation that didn't do anything. That's the part I have an issue with.
Okay, Blaine.
Okay, let's go.
Because I was thinking about this. This is something that we're going to talk about on the podcast a lot. And I was thinking about this conversation specifically in relation to you and I. You and I are from the exact same generation. Mm-hmm. Like, what year were you born?
81.
81, me too. So, like, literally, you and I are from the exact same generation. We grew up in the exact same fucking small little town. Mm-hmm. Now, our lives were obviously different.
You're the youngest in your family?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm second youngest.
Okay.
We're almost there.
I'm sure that our parents had some similar parenting styles and things like that, simply because of the generation that they came from and the societal norms that existed at that point, right?
Switches.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
So I think that our generation of men that exists right now, we aren't millennials. We aren't this new generation of open-minded, free-thinking, totally loving and accepting. Like, there's a generation of men that exist today that it's totally and completely 100% normal that they have had other men or other boys in their school age years that were gay and that identified as gay. And that wasn't anything other than that's who they are. And that's like, it was not given two thoughts, right? Because I see that with our kids now, where they don't think twice about the person that may be gay or identify as bisexual or whatever the case may be. But our generation, we didn't have that. Our generation grew up where, like, you can probably think right along with me who, like, the one gay kid was in our class, and he wasn't openly gay about it. And he had all sorts of shitty struggles in life, I'm sure, because of that difficulty that he had. But we never thought about it really, other than, I'm getting way off on a tangent in my head. What I'm saying is, we're a generation that didn't cause a lot of this stuff, but we are the ones that are kind of stuck in the space of, what are we going to do about it, right? Because we aren't the older generations of, like, all the shit in the media with, like, Harvey Weinstein and that Supreme Court judge. And those guys came from a generation before us, where a lot of this stuff was accepted and it was normal, right? but we're also not this brand new generation where everything's accepted and everything's normal. We're like caught in this middle space, because I struggle with myself where it's like the whole identifying however you want to identify, gender pronouns and all this kind of stuff. I struggle in that space, not because I think that it's wrong or that those kids are stupid or it's not acceptable, but I struggle in the space of like, as society as a whole, do we really need to have 14 different bathrooms available to people? Do you know what I mean? All these different kind of things. But like deep down inside, I don't care. And it's not, I don't care, fuck off. I'm not concerned about you. It's like literally I'm accepting of all of these things, but I still have some wiring that's like, that's hard to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow. And when it comes to the context of feminine issues, when it comes to the context of all this other stuff, I don't feel like I caused it, but then I really, really, really have to look at my actions and behaviors and take into consideration what women are saying is causing these issues. And then I realize, oh shit, I did cause some of it. I did play a role in some of it. I did have some aspect of my actions and behaviors over the course of my life that has contributed to this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, what the hell? Now what do we do? What do good men do?
Well, I talked to my wife and how she's in business, which I've never been in. You know, I was in the post office. It's like you can't, it's so strictly rigid that you can't really favor anyone. It's all seniority. Mm-hmm. So whoever gets there first, whatever. But she told me, I like asked her, do you see it in the workforce? Do you see men favoring men or women getting shafted or whatever? I guess that's the wrong way to say it, but
tons of women just getting shafted.
Yeah.
I think that was the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. So she said she sees how, like she had a boss that definitely favored men, like boys club kind of thing. It wasn't, I don't think it was affected in pay in her circumstance, but she definitely fell out of the loop because she wasn't a dude. And I don't know if that was on purpose or just because he's more comfortable with dudes. And women are more, actually, my wife doesn't really get along with ladies. That's what's funny, is like she gets more along with dudes. I say it dudes, whatever. Most of her friends from high school are men. Mm-hmm. And that was something kind of that I thought was like a little, all right, that's cool. You know, I'll be friends with your friends. We'll go play pool or whatever. So I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
But that's what we're trying, you know. I don't want to say, I've never thought this, I am being prejudiced to a woman. Like I've never had that like click. Not to say that I haven't or, you know, or have. I just never consciously recognized it. So
to put that in words of, because like you never thought that you were contributing to the oppression that women have felt.
Right. If anything, I mean, I'm a super submissive dude. Like this is like, I hate conflict. Like if I get an order, if a waiter gets my order wrong and brings me the wrong sandwich, I'll eat it. Like, I'm like, this is not what I ordered, but I'm going to eat it because I don't want to deal with having to have that back and forth and whatever. Where my wife would be like, you getting what you want and we're going to make it happen. So I would even go back for, that's my personality. Like that's where I need to have, where I fall short with my wife is that I won't confront her. Like that's our biggest problem, I think, is the not confronting part, where she has an issue, I have an issue. We don't want to hurt each other's feelings. We don't want to cause trouble. So we just let the issue fester and grow and infect our relationship. And then we have to like have a surgery and deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's just our personalities. But so it's hard for me to, and with my girls, I'm not worried about that as a problem, because I see society kind of more attacking masculinity than
So this is stuff you have to
femininity.
think about because your girls are little. Your girls are going to get into middle school. And once hormones come into play and everybody's hormones go through the roof, right? They're going to be objectified and they're going to be looked at as sex objects by the other kids that they go to school with, as well as some of the male teachers and adults that they come in contact with in their life. That's just going to happen. There's kind of no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? They're going to experience, like depending on the school that they go to, they're going to be told that they can't wear spaghetti straps on the tank tops that they choose to wear that's most comfortable for them, right? They have to wear more form-fitting clothes that cover up more of their body, right? They can't wear shirtless sleeves or short shorts or something like that.
Make sure your bra strap doesn't accidentally come out.
Yeah.
No skin showing.
They're going to have boys that think it's okay to send them pictures of their penises. They're going to have boys that solicit sexting with them. They're going to have all sorts of these things that are going to come into play into their life in one way, shape, or form, even if it's on a small little incidental scale, which is in some way, shape, or form going to affect how they perceive masculinity, how they perceive boys and men, how they perceive sexuality, how they perceive what it means to be a woman and accept themselves, all sorts of different shit, right? And it's already taking place because of the way culture is and the way society is and media is, where they're already being influenced by a lot of this stuff. So Blaine, what the hell are you doing about it? Like, that's the thing that I sit back with. It's like, what am I doing to help any of that? Because I don't want any of my kids.
Right.
I don't want my wife. I don't want anybody's kids to walk through life feeling that way. Right.
I mean, this is a conversation me and Sonny have had. Not that specific, but just to the point of letting them venture out and experiencing. She came from a much more I'm on my own kind of household. And where what the worst trouble I could get into in Grantsville is, what are my friends willing to do? You know, what are we really willing to burn or tip over?
Yeah.
And now it's just a whole different ballgame. And where I didn't even get a cell phone until I was in my 20s. And, you know, I remember the first time I got an email address, I was a senior in high school, typing it in the library computer next to Elizabeth Tanaka. She's helping me out. You know, I didn't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like technology is just going so fast. And I think they're going to come out. Well, it's like, you don't want to restrict. I think this is the problem with Utah, is because it's so restricted that when they get out, they go crazy, you know, or at least it's perceived that way. I didn't go crazy, but I am not like still in whatever I was taught when I was a kid. So it's like, whatever, you just go and you figure it out. But now there's just so many influences that can affect your kid. Oh, sexting.
That's coming, Blaine. Dude. This other thing too that I thought about, because porn is so easily attainable at this point in society, right? So easy. We give them a cell phone and we are basically handing them a stack of not just Playboys, but like the hardest core porn that you could ever imagine. And we're just handing it over to them and say, good luck, right? Because it's so easy to get. And I think a lot of times people think that that's just something that boys are going to do, or that boys are going to be exposed to, or that boys are going to see on accident by chance, even though it's probably not on accident. They're probably seeking it out. I think the reality is that girls are just as likely to accidentally see something or seek something out of curiosity because of how easy it is to find and how easy it is to get. And then if we think about what seeing porn at a young age is actually going to teach them in regards to sex, their bodies, what's acceptable, what's normal, right? then it's like, I mean, we're just screwed in that arena as well.
That's not a theory.
That's accurate, right?
That's accurate.
Yeah.
That is absolutely accurate. And then we get the message of, oh, this is what desire looks like. This is what being wanted looks like. This is what I need to be in order to achieve this, or to, there's so many things that it starts planning. It's not just, oh gosh, that's such a deep rabbit hole. You lose so much of your identity with it. And that, like, I'm so nervous about saying that, because then that says, if you look at, like, I feel like I'm putting out there that everything out there is bad. That if you watch porn, that if you come across the body in any sense, that you're going to immediately have a negative association with it, and then it's going to damage you. And I'm not trying to say that, because I think it's important that you are exposed to those things, that you do see the body, that you do find peace within yourself and the varieties of bodies that are out there. I think that is so important, and that could heal so much. But at the same point, when it's such an extreme of what is seen and what is put out there and what is accessible, and that's where it's like that message gets twisted so deeply. And then there's that age group, that's so available for so much younger, that trying to understand and process what they're seeing at that age, and just going, and even, 15, 16, 17, you're still, the way you're able to process things is not the way an adult's going to process them. So once you have that convoluted
adults
image,
process it perfectly fine.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that, but there's a difference. Like, I know, like, it's when you have that association and that way that you've processed it as a child, and then you take that, and then that builds, and then that's what the association clicks when you're an adult. And as you're growing, it becomes a program in your mind instead of something that's information or what can I gather from this? It's a program. So how do you know what they're seeing? And is it like this is okay. This is one way to look at it. This is this, but you have, expand that so their minds don't get just smashed down to, this is fact. This is what it is. This is what I'm supposed to be, or what I'm supposed to see, or this is bad. This person is bad because of this. How do you keep their minds to where it is okay to be me and not objectify themselves? Because it's not just other people objectifying. Women are taught how to objectify themselves, and so are men. So are men. These little boys, like you're saying, they're the bad ones right now. So they can't see a girl. They can't see the skin, or think, well, if she's showing that, then I don't have control anymore. And that's the way it is. And so everything I do from on that point is okay. They're taught that they're mindless and just reactionary, and that's not what it is. So how do you approach that?
I don't know why you're looking at me, baby. I ain't got answers.
Oh, this is your podcast. Yes, you do.
I think that, because we can do things as parents, right? So we can help mitigate some of these issues with our kids, and the ways that we raise them, the ways that we teach them about all these different things that they're going to encounter in life, and the way that we try to help and protect and insulate them from some of the really shitty things that exist out there. And I'm sure you're doing that. I'm sure you're going to continue to do that, right? But I'm talking like, you're like, Blaine, no. I just play video games and snort all that coke.
When's it too early to start kids on coke?
Right.
9 o'clock in the morning.
I almost kind of relate porn, at least, to almost like the drugs. Like, when do you expose kids to this idea of that? Because they're both super addicting, just in different ways. And man, I don't know how to do that either. Do you like give them a taste and see how, give them a taste of beer and let them see how crappy it is so they stay away from it? Or is it like, oh yeah, you show them a picture of, or a video or whatever, of porn, and they'll be like, oh, I'm good, so they know what to say, or I don't know. It's expose them a little bit to get them a taste to see how it could be bad, but not to have them be afraid of it. I think that's the problem too, is we kind of go too far and instill this fear that this is such a negative thing, where it can be maybe not, I don't know. It has a purpose. Everything has some sort of a purpose. You just gotta do it and mitigate it, not overdo it. Just like Coke. No.
So I think because this is the part that I just get stuck at, where I can only do so much for the immediate direct influence that I have within my life, right? Within the relationships that I have. And I can change how I am behaving as a man. I can change how I approach not just women, but life in general, and the way that I treat other men and humans and everything like that. I can do all of these things internally within myself. But for me personally, I don't feel like that's enough. And that may just be a bigger burden that I'm placing on myself than I really need to. But I feel like the good men need to do more, because we aren't doing enough right now. It's not enough for us to just be good men in our own everyday lives. I think we have to some way do more, because we are good men, and because we do have the ability to bring that good, balanced, assertive, healthy fucking masculinity. I love you, baby.
The healthy masculinity.
We have the ability to bring that out into the world and have that be an influence. And I think right now, I'm sure it is in some way, shape, or form, in some movements or some organizations or some things like that. That is all taking place, I think, 100%. But I think we need more. I think that's what women are asking for. I think that's what the world is wanting and needing, that good men need to step up and do more in this arena and in this space, because it really seems like just the bad guys are ruling, and they are doing a terrible, terrible job.
That made me think of something that I think I talked to my wife about it, but it's like, dang, I just totally left me. Like masculinity. Just how men and women work. That she will never tell me that she's upset when she really is. So here women are saying toxic masculinity. These are the causes where they really just want men to be good men. Where we're hearing like the men are saying, oh, something is wrong, so I'm just going to like stay away and shut it down because I don't want to hurt anybody. Where they're really wanting more of what it's like they can't come out and straight say it. It's just how my wife works. Like she doesn't exactly say, oh, ask her how she is. She says she's fine. I know something is not fine. Like it's just what I've learned over time. and I'm not like trying to like make it seem like my dad would go off and like say something crazy, but it's just how it is. It's just how it is. And I know that she needs help when she says that.
So this doesn't go to the core of it, Blaine, but
critical thinking.
This is a good example of how you and me in this generation are contributing to this issue, because we are stereotyping women and putting them into this box of that if only they would tell us what the fuck they want.
But that's not how they work.
So now suddenly we've just minimized them and put them into this little box and said, because the fact is women are beautiful, wonderful, varied creatures, and they don't need to work that way in order to make our life easier. They don't need to work that way in order to make things better. They don't, because there's nothing wrong with working that way. That's just literally the way that they process information. So for us, go ahead, baby.
It's okay. I got my what?
I thought you were flipping me off as you were itching your eye there. That's totally what it looked like. You were bringing your finger up to say... So what do you think, baby?
I know we're talking for you. This is not nice.
No, it's okay.
Hold on. I got to mute your
it.
microphone. Yeah, we got to talk for you. But that's what it is, where men think that they understand and we're going to speak for them. What do you want to say, bub, babe, bub? I'm nervous.
I'm just going to sit here and look at you then.
No.
They're like...
Because you're guilty of that too.
What else?
The way that he described his wife is like, are you fine? Yep. I'm fine. And clearly you're not. Instead of just telling me what's wrong, we have to go for 3 hours of getting to that point. So you do the same thing. I love you. What were you going to say? I'm going to shut up. I got to go to the bathroom. Blaine, hand me some of that Coke.
Whew. Well, one of the things that I'm guilty about is when I get really angry, I do get a little quieter and lose my my words don't like to come out well. So the fact that I'm struggling right now is, yes, women, to be honest, do that to a point. And you're right. We don't need to change to make your lives easier, but quit saying it like something's wrong with us and we never tell you, because so much of the time, if you think that your woman never tells you and you just don't hear her or listen at time, you're blind. You're not looking. You're not, or whatever it is. But there's so much that, yes, we do tell you. And then we get tired of saying the same thing or getting no results. So what is the point to keep having the same conversation? And now that's a whole different thing. This is a relationship dynamic. This isn't a masculine, feminine. I am completely drawing from my relationship at this moment because that
With who?
did some triggers.
What asshole are you talking about?
A wonderful man who does amazing things and I cherish and is so kind and compassionate. But he's a human and it is not perfect, as all of us. So this is like one of those things. Don't be like, oh yeah, they're fine just the way they are. They don't need to change to make our lives easier. Absolutely. No, we don't. But quit making it sound like something's fucking wrong with us, because it's not. It's not. That got me a little hot for some reason.
So what do women want?
What do women want?
What do women want good men to do?
Well, we already told you, so it's your fault you didn't listen. Figure it out. I can't tell you what women want. I can tell you what I want, and I can tell you what I see. I see so much of, like what you were saying about how you guys can think of the one gay kid that didn't really come out because that wasn't something that was okay to do. And then for our kids, they just, like, it's not a big deal to them. But what you're missing is it's still a big deal. We're raising kids that are, I don't want to say good kids because insinuating that others aren't, but we're raising good kids. It doesn't matter to them. They see people, and that's what is being done differently. And it's not just what men can do differently, it's women. But as being a father and raising your daughters in a way that their voice matters, that is doing something. You have a son, and there's plenty of sons out there that what they feel matter, and that it's okay for them to feel, and it's okay for them to express, and it's okay for them to not jump in the crowd and objectify women. Those things matter. And when the women have the voice to come across, and yes, we're being loud, we're being very loud, and there is that balance that is not there where men are being attacked. Not all men are being attacked. And if you feel like you're being attacked, maybe look at it. What is that triggering in you? We're not trying to cut off your balls. Maybe we're tired of carrying them on our backs. You know, you carry your own shit. You carry your own. Yes, I said, go ahead. Try not to laugh because you got a visual of testicles.
Balls on your back.
We're carrying the weight of your balls, of your testicles. Like, you need to be up. Yes, it feels like we're stepping stones where you keep on laughing at me. Don't you minimize me. Well, you go ahead and
weird, bizarro teabagging that you're talking about that doesn't really make sense to me. I love you guys.
It's okay. Teabagging visuals are the only thing you're going to have in your own imagination because your balls can play with themselves now.
So go ahead.
No, I lost track because I'm embarrassed about balls. So I can't think of anything else because I feel
but
like
outside of good men just living good lives and doing what they can by raising good kids and everything like that, what do women want us to do?
Why don't you go ask the women instead of just asking one and being like, well, if you can't give me an answer, fuck it.
Well, we're just speaking for men and women both at this little table because
I feel like you're being really rude right now. Like, I feel kind of like, well, what is it right now? Tell me right now, what is it that you want? If you can't answer that, then go fuck yourself. That's kind of what it feels like.
Totally not.
I'm feeling very defensive and like.
Do you have a good answer for it, Blaine?
Shielding.
What the hell they want? Because I don't know what they want.
I think they want.
I don't feel good right now. Don't touch me. Like, get your hand off me.
It's not a bad thing.
I feel really uncomfortable right now.
I'm asking in an honest way, babe, to see if there's something I'm not seeing, something I'm not looking at. It's something that you and I've talked about. Obviously, we're going to continue to talk about. And I feel like I need more. I need the tunnel vision to be opened up more.
Okay, that I understand.
Yeah, so I'm not attacking you in any way, shape, or form. We're going to get through a podcast one of these days.
Without me crying?
Yeah, without tears. Not that there's anything wrong with tears, because it's strong emotion that comes through.
It is. I don't feel like...
Yeah. It's okay.
I feel outnumbered.
You got Angel.
She's passed out.
She is passed out. But Blaine and I aren't attacking you in any way.
I know
shape, or
that.
form.
I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like, right now I feel crappy. I feel so crappy right now. It's silly. I feel like I'm failing all women because I don't have the answer right now, because I'm sitting here looking at two perfectly safe men. I'm not in any danger, but like, I feel like my voice doesn't, like, I don't have the right answer right now, so I don't have a right to speak. Oh my God. I'm being way emotional. So I don't know. I want to continue to have the answer to this as my mind expands and I'm allowed to have these answers. But right now, I don't have it.
It's a tough question. And I bet you if we asked a lot of women, they wouldn't be able to answer it either. I think they would be able to speak to some of the things that you've spoken to, right? Like, be a good man. Like, stand up for the things that are right. Lead your life in this way, shape, and form. All of those things I'm 100% understanding of. And I believe that is a huge component to this question or this issue.
And hug your sons and let them know it's okay to be a man.
Yeah, be better fathers.
It's okay to love. It's okay to express love.
I agree. You know me, babe, and I'm just an asshole.
You are not.
No. But for me, it's like, I agree with all of those things. But this is very masculine, I think, this thing that I have that I'm trying to verbalize and talk about right now. Blaine's just like sitting here staring at me.
She's like, gosh, she's crying.
I think this is a good example of how men, this is a problem. I want to fix it. Tell me what you need me to fix. And then I will fucking fix it.
That's exactly what it was.
That's a man thing.
Yes. You have presented me with a problem. I recognize that it's a problem. I have compassion. I want to change. I want to fix this fucking problem.
We have a desire in us to fix stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know why.
It's very masculine.
It's a thing. It just is there.
Tell me how to fix this problem and I will gladly fucking fix it. I will go and learn and grab any other tool. I will YouTube videos to try to figure it out. I will do anything I possibly can. Just tell me how to fix this. And instead, not saying that, and this is going to sound terrible, but instead women have just said, this is the problem. Now go figure it out. And you're like, I don't fucking know what you're talking about because I can barely even grasp the problem. Now you're trying to tell me how to go figure it out. What were you going to say, babe?
Well, I think like that might be the answer, because that's something that you and I have been working on is like, when I tell you things, I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to change. I need you just to sit with me.
That's
like right there.
I get that too from my wife. She's like, I just need a vent. And I'm looking at like, how am I going to like put these things together to get them in a row so she can be okay? But that's not a problem for her. Yeah. It's just, there is this problem that she just needs to talk about.
Oh, so do we just need to hold space? Do we just need to listen?
I don't know if it's going to work with this situation, with like the whole toxic masculinity thing.
What if it does though, Blaine? What if it's that simple?
Walks, together. It's just together. It's everybody holding space together. It's just seeing everybody's an equal. Nobody needs to fix anything. We just coexist. I'm sounding like a dumbass.
You're not sounding like a dumbass.
No, I can't say what I mean. It's like nothing needs to be fixed. Men don't have to go through this. Like everybody just. It's like capture the flag. Everybody's playing capture the flag, and.
I like this metaphor wherever it's going.
I want to be able to express this because so much of it's over the top. Who's got it over the top? Who's going to win? The hand game where you keep going up and up, or however, who's going to be on top again?
You and the sexual metaphors.
I know. I'm not trying to do that. But just like when you said that men need to fix things.
I will gladly be on bottom.
Okay, so my husband just announced he's a bottom. But if it's just a matter of being able to move together, I don't want to be dominated, but I don't want to have to dominate.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too, is like feminism is getting to a point where they're trying to overthrow men and they don't want to be there either, but it's where they feel like they have to go.
Yeah.
then they still want men to be men. They don't want to they don't want to demasculate men, because who wants to be with a lame old guy, you know? I was going to say something else.
You were going to say something else, I saw. Who wants to be with a pussy?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've got the whole back to square one, way to go. We just emasculated
Exactly.
men and made women feel terrible and contributed to toxic masculinity, and we're terrible men.
Men say stuff without thinking about it.
And
we just say stuff.
The reason we say stuff without thinking about it is because that stuff is in our wiring, right? We would say something without thinking about it, but fully understand if somebody pointed it out. Oh yeah, that was kind of a dick move, right? I shouldn't say that. It's really easy right now in the, like, retard. Like, you're not supposed to say retard. Like, I tease the girls, all of our girls, and I'll joke around and call things retarded and reference things that, except for like actual retards. I don't like drive down the street and point at the retards and laugh at them. But it's like, you know, but that's a really good example of men just say stuff, because that was how, and it's not the excuse of like, well, that's how we were brought up and that's how we were raised. It's not like I was raised in a family where we were bigots and racists towards retards. That was just common nomenclature that we were brought up with in the span of society.
And you put a bunch of dudes together. This is why guys like to get together and play cards, or get together and go bowling or whatever, because they can just talk and not be like, oh, that's funny, you know? We're not going to, we know you don't really mean what you're saying.
So I think that's where we as good men can change that, Blaine.
And be like, hey, you need to watch what you're saying.
In a very,
I don't get together with friends. So.
But I think in those environments and in those circumstances where men have to be able to express freely with one another, because that's a way of decompressing. That's a way of kind of releasing stress and anxiety and connecting. And there's wonderful, wonderful benefits to all of those kind of aspects of it. But then when things are said that we should just stop saying, do you know what I mean? Like, we should just stop saying some of these things, even if there's a part of us that thinks that there's nothing wrong with saying them. Retard is a perfect example, right? I should just stop saying retard and using it as a joke or to comment about things or whatever the case may be. I should just stop saying that, because I understand that that is difficult for some people, even though I might disagree with it. And I know inside that I'm not being a dick. I know inside that I'm not, do you know what I mean? I will help retards if I ever come in contact with them.
Does it feel good to say that, though?
It's just funny, babe.
But,
it's just funny.
When you say it, does it, any part of your body, do you like feel like you're saying something good? Does it feel good?
The problem is, like I said, it's a wiring thing where it doesn't feel bad.
Does it feel good?
It doesn't have a feeling. It's the equivalent of...
You can't feel it anywhere. It doesn't feel bad at all.
Because
like
I don't think of it in a bad way.
But now it's like one of those, when you know better, you do better things.
Exactly. It's one of those things where you can bring this to my attention and I can understand in the totality of society and culture and people that word is no longer acceptable because of what it carries and the weight of what it carries for a massive amount of people. Totally understand that and respect that. So I should stop saying that word. And there's plenty of things that men say in the context of being around other men and in the space and in the safety of other men, where it's totally acceptable in that environment. And it's totally something that we would not think is an issue or a problem. And I think we need to reevaluate those situations and address it with each other in those environments, because we just need to stop saying those things. And we think, well, what the hell? It's just a word. What does it matter when we stop saying those things? But it's the energy created behind that. It's the mindset created behind that. It's the bigger picture outside of that we can change culture if we all just agree that we need to stop saying these things and hold each other accountable for those when we encounter them. I'm going to have a really hard time getting rid of retard, though.
Why?
Because it's funny.
Have you ever had one of those words that you knew you weren't supposed to say in front of someone, and you're trying so hard not to say it, and because you're concentrating so hard on it, it just comes out?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I called a pregnant cousin fat once. It was so bad. And it's because I was really looking at her and like, oh my God, because she's this beautiful person. And she's one of those that when I get pregnant, I get fat. I get huge. And she had this perfect little baby bump. Her skin was perfect. She was glowing. And I'm looking at her and she's just she's stunning. And what went through my head was, she's pregnant and I'm still bigger than her. And so I went to say like something of like, how, here you are, it's hot and you're pregnant and you're still, more beautiful than anyone else here, this compliment. But because I was thinking my dialogue, I said, and you're bigger than anyone else here. And tried to fix it. I'm like, it's like, the heat's bigger and and like, instead of just saying I'm an idiot. And so, yeah, my own negative self-talk was so loud that it came out. And
there's going to come a time where we have to stop saying idiot. There is. How do you feel when you say idiot? Do you feel like you're doing anything wrong?
You know what? That word, whenever I say idiot, either attached to me or somebody else, it doesn't feel good because it's got that negative. But if you're calling somebody an idiot, I don't feel good if I'm calling them an idiot.
But if you just use it in the context of like, I don't know. I can't think of an example.
Every time you say idiot, it's bad.
So like, I was listening to a podcast and I don't know if it's like if that would count as a swear, like a derogatory term, but like people that have lost their ability to speak, like they've had brain damage or something, can still swear because it's from a different part of their brain. So it comes from a different place. So he could like still tell the nurse to F off or whatever, but he couldn't formulate a sentence.
What is that?
Bum, bum, bum.
I'm going to look into that. That's fascinating. What does
I think
that
I stole
mean?
it from Joe Rogan. I think
Damn
I
it.
watch so much.
Damn it.
I know. I said,
damn it.
It's I watch so much YouTube on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I just sit there and watch.
Yeah, I heard that same thing. I don't remember which guy that was that he had on, but it's fascinating because it is the neurological aspect of what part of our brain is that being triggered by, and where do we hold that part of our, like, swear words but that's because of the weight and the energy behind swear words. I don't think there's anything, logistical about the actual word itself. It's what has been over time in culture and history and evolutionarily speaking has been placed upon those words. Yeah. Because when we speak them and when we say them, they carry the weight. So that in some way, shape, or form wires into our brain in a different way than just regular everyday words. So I think as parents, we need to swear more around our children, and all swear words should be the equivalent of nouns. But they should all just be regular words. Well,
they don't need the power that they have. So I agree with that. Like it's just a word. So when I say that, I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference? What's the difference from me swearing or saying idiot? Because apparently that's on the way out. But I think it's the label that it's given. It's when, like, am I just stubbing my toe and then expressing the pain out of my mouth, or am I looking at somebody and like it's the label? I think the label you give to somebody.
Well, like, so what's the root of idiot? Like, where does that come from?
I just use idiot as an example.
I know, but I was just thinking, where does it come from? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't think it means what we think it means.
I'm sure it doesn't. Mm-mm. It's probably Latin for idiota.
Well, I know there's
it's for a retarded donkey.
Oh, there's Jesus. There's it's when they talk about illness that you have when it's in, oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's idio. Oh my gosh, I can't remember what it is. I'm so mad. All I can think of is idio, like the symptom.
Syncratic or something.
Yeah, idio. I don't remember what it is, but it's in the phrase, and what it means is in that aspect. It sounds like you're calling somebody an idiot. It's when they have an illness, an ailment that they cannot figure out why they have it. So they're not discrediting it. They're not saying that what they're experiencing isn't real and that there is a problem. They just don't know how to identify why that's happening and what the cause is or how to fix it. So they give it that label. So it's like the unknown in a sense. Stevie?
Yeah, you're good. Keep talking.
You want to hear some other stories about when he was in high school and stuff?
I would love that.
My best memory is when we were seniors and the juniors was prom. So Craig was able to organize an elite force of seniors we did something, and this would be totally not cool nowadays, egging, where the senior class and the junior class would egg each other. Mostly it was the seniors egging the juniors.
You have to explain egging, though, because a lot of people don't even know what the
Throwing
hell that is.
an egg at someone. And we got the crap kicked out of us when we were juniors. So we get to do that to the next coming class, and they're ready for it. They know it. I was lucky enough to be invited on this little special force egging crew, and it had been banned at that time on the school premises. So they were kind of like slowly getting rid of it, where it was only designated areas in like probably up here.
Yeah, up here in this area where we live now. This used to be called Hollywood.
Yeah, so
it's like a huge tradition. My mom egged at prom time.
Yeah, do they? They don't do it anymore.
No, they don't anymore.
So because we're from such a small town, they had this thing called promenade. So we would go practice dancing, and we would do this choreographed dance in front of the town. At prom time. And it was only the junior prom, which is weird too. Like in other places, senior prom is but here it's junior prom. And as you're coming out of practice from dancing, the seniors egg you as kind of like this rite of passage or whatever. And there was like one dude out there trying to catch people, and they turned the lights on the football field, and we're like crouched. There's like this berm. And we're like on the side of the berm just watching the junior class come out. And Craig was the leader. He's like, you wait until they get out, and then we go, and they can't get back in. So you rush them, and they're trying to get back inside. They're all just standing there, and we're just pelting them. Bum, 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 bum. And there was this dude who wanted to fight back, and he had a paintball gun. You know?
I remember that.
And Craig rushed him, took the gun away from him, and smashed it. So he couldn't shoot us.
You don't bring a paintball gun to an egg fight.
Right.
Yeah.
So you took him out.
Yeah, totally. He was disrespecting the tradition.
I think he was
Was he not even a junior?
I don't even think he was. I think it was Jason Clark. I want to say it was him. I don't even think he was in school anymore.
See, that's weird.
Yeah.
That is weird.
I just remember you smashing it, running away, and being like, "This is war," or something like that. And we were just all pumped, you know. And then these, I think it was some Bairds. Like, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Jennifer. It was her sister. What's
Jana?
And we were at your house getting more eggs, and they pull up and like throw one egg, right? And we just hammered her. And the window was down, and we're chucking eggs in the car.
No.
And it was just like getting in their faces, and they just drove off, and we're just like, yeah. You know, it's just like toxic masculinity at work. But it was only dudes. Like, those were the only girls that we saw. They actually came up later, and we were like talking with them. But it was just like something.
I think I ended up getting like over 3,000 eggs.
Holy shit.
Because I had everybody throw in like $5 or something. And then I took that pot of money and went into the egg farm in Erda, Fazio.
Wow.
And got big, huge cases, like big crates. So you get like a flat of eggs, which is like, I don't know, 2 dozen or 3 dozen or something like that. And these were just huge boxes with tons and tons and tons of flats.
Those are the 5 dozen little things that you can buy at Walmart.
Yeah. And so I think I had something like $130 or something that I devoted just to buying eggs, and ended up with something around like 3,000 actual eggs.
Yeah.
That we distributed out to everybody.
We took it serious.
Yeah.
We took it serious. I was just along for the ride, you know. These were like the cool guys that I was like tagging along with, you know. Let's go egg somebody. Fun. That was great.
I think it was like the janitor that was in the parking lot trying to stop us from.
He had no prayer.
Yeah.
There was like 30 of us. trying to stop us throwing eggs at.
Yeah.
Maybe
the
get
juniors.
started again this year. If it's been out for so long, Stevie's Junior. Oh, we
Now
should
it's
start next time.
vandalism. Now it's crime.
Yeah.
Now it's
what
assault.
What if we invite like the women in it too? So it's not
the women were
toxic
invited
mess?
into
They were
it.
there. It's just
Yeah.
We
dudes
used to
took
egg
part.
the shit out of women. Hillary, Kel's wife, she got hit in the face with an egg once, and it shattered right into her face, and like she had eggshell inside of her eye.
Ooh, ow.
It was horrible. Yeah,
So what does she do?
I don't remember. I think we took her back home and dropped her off and went out and threw some more eggs or something. I don't know.
We were probably one of the last classes to do it.
I think we were. I think if not that year, very, very soon after, it kind of came to an end.
So I remember when we were juniors and all the seniors are out there waiting for us to come out, and we dared, I think it was Greg Larson, to run across the field, touch the fence, and come back. And he came back and he was like, and the door locks, right? So he can't get in. And he gets there and comes back and is banging on the door. And you could just hear the eggs hitting the door. And he opened it and he's just like covered.
Yeah.
They got in trouble. Those guys got in trouble too because they threw some eggs in the door and got on our decorations and stuff. But it's just
so
freaking fun, man. It's
It
just
was fun. That's the kind of shit that happens in a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not anymore, though.
Was it because somebody got 3,000 eggs and started an all-out war and smashed paintball guns and stuff?
It could have been. There could have been some more vandalism that occurred.
This is a little out of hand. It's
Yeah.
a little serious.
We didn't get through all those eggs either.
We didn't.
No. And so they sat
a
in
lot of
my
eggs.
mom's shed in the backyard. And I left them there because I thought that we might need them for something, right? You never
Eventually,
know where
yeah.
there may be some ongoing egging that took place. And eventually, because they sat out there in the shed so long, they started to explode.
Oh.
And then it was just god-awful, horrible smell. And
Didn't you bury some?
I did.
That's what I was gonna say.
The remainder of the eggs I buried in the backyard in the event that we ever needed to dig them up and have some incredibly rotten, spoiled egg to throw at somebody.
I heard the black egg is a delicacy.
Yeah, I was
There's
gonna
like
say, isn't that like a Korean thing?
something like that.
They're
so-
still there. We
I
go
bet
dig them
they-
up right now. Blaine, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, reminiscy.
Yeah. Tell us about your podcast.
So it's called The Hortoccult, a horticulture podcast, and just on gardening tips. We take it a little lighter. So if you're in a mood for something a little lighter than this, it's me and my friend, and we combined, we have like 15 years of gardening experience and probably more than that now. But yeah, we're on Instagram at the Hortoccult. Actually, I think it's just Hortoccult on Instagram. Twitter, the Hortoccult. We have a Facebook group. You know, just get out there, and I do live stream videos every Wednesday. Sometimes we do a live podcast. I put it on YouTube, and just me and Brad talking about whatever. But yeah,
And they
tree
can find
types.
Find it everywhere as far as listening and everything.
Listening. It's on like the big three. Was Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Those are the four it's on. Or you can find it at horticulture.com.
Sweet.
But,
How long have you guys done it?
We're over a year. We just did 1 year. So we have like 60 episodes. We put out one a week every Monday.
Sweet.
So yeah,
It's so fun, huh?
Yeah, it's really helping me a lot with just getting over my shit. It's just good to talk to someone that it's that venting, it's the guy time, it's like, but it's like creative and helpful. It's not destructive. So I was gonna say we focus on dry landscapes and water conservation efforts and stuff like that. So if you're into that stuff, Great Basin,
That is awesome.
word up, high desert.
Yeah.
I kill everything. I have such a green heart, but such a brown thumb. So get some ways to stop doing that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not hard. I mean, if
It
I could
is
do it,
for me. Like
it's
seriously.
really just knowing. So the biggest thing that we have to come up with here in Utah is our salinity in our soils. So we have very alkaline soils, and a lot of things that you buy at the nursery, they're from Oregon, California. So they come from a very acidic soil place where they've been kind of brought up and raised. And there's just certain things we can't grow here. And they sell though. They'll sell here, but they don't grow very well here. So you got to be, just have to have a little idea. Look on the pots. We'll always say where they're grown. Okay. So always try to find something that's local here in Utah. Hydrangeas you're not going to find that are local. They're coming out with varieties that are better, but everyone loves hydrangeas.
You can jack with the soil though to make it more.
You can add certain things. You can do amendments and things, but it's always short term. The salinity's in the soil, it's in the water. It's so unless you're using rainwater, so if you gather rain in barrels, that's the only thing that's going to have the right pH of neutral. Our soils are about average like 8.5, and plants really like neutral 7 or lower. They don't go much lower. I mean, we're only talking like a couple points on the pH scale, but 6.5 is really, that's acidic as you need to go. The problem is because we're arid and it leaches. So in places that are rainy, it's able to push the salts deeper and wash them out. So they have more acidity there. But yeah, if you're using culinary water, has all sorts of crap in it. And then you have the irrigation water is going to have a high pH too. So it's hard. So why we can't grow blueberries here? It's because it's the acidity in the soil.
So for the people that have such a desire but cannot make it happen and listen to your podcast and maybe are hearing what you're saying and know you're speaking English, but like, no. Do you do any like traveling around like locally? Could you like go to somebody's house, look at their landscape and what they want and their soil and
maybe they
like
just
guide
have a
them
podcast.
how to do?
They don't have a...
Well, he's local. I'm saying for the lucky people that live within driving distance. Is that something like that you do?
I go to the green conferences, and I talk with people there. I go to, like I'm working on meeting with a lady who does this water conservancy district in West Jordan, and she is like the director, and they have rebates how to get if you want to like have a more water wise lawn and it's expensive or whatever, not lawn, yard. They have rebates to help do that. You have to apply and do those things. Local Scapes is the thing. They're trying to rebrand. Have you ever heard of Xericscape? Mm-hmm. So Xeric has a lot of negative connotations to it because it's always been branded as Zeroscape. So they're rebranding the idea, the principles, in a way that makes a lot of sense. It's like a 5-step program, and it's way simple. You just go to localscapes.com, and they have how you can reduce it. One of it is like a park strip, removing the park strip. It's just so impossible to irrigate that properly and to put in mulches, using mulches, rock mulches, bark mulches, waste from arborists. So when they mulch or they use a chipper, that is really good mulch because it has all parts of the plant, all parts of the tree instead of just the bark. And it degrades and adds nutrients to the soil that way too. And microbiome, the microbes in soil, is like super important. Like you don't even that's my friend is really into the science stuff, and he watched that show where he goes to Mars and like does the potatoes and stuff. He's like, there's no way. He's like, there's no way that would work. There's no microbiome there. There's no microbes in that soil to like do the conversion rates and stuff. But stuff like that. It's we take it really light. We're not very heavy. He will go on the Latin names and stuff and talk about that. And I'm just like, that's fantastic, bro. But it's fun. We're a lighthearted group. He's a big time hippie. So it's really fun.
Very cool. Hortoccult.com.
Hortoccult.com. Yep.
Awesome, man.
Rock on, Babylon. I hate conflict. If a waiter gets my order wrong and brings me the wrong sandwich, I'll eat it. I don't think the majority of men are bad. To support women is not hard. So everything has some sort of a purpose. You just gotta mitigate it, not overdo it, just like Coke.